Many, not all, but many of these folks that have survived the treatments used to manage whatever type of cancer they had pay a significant price in their overall health as the result of surviving toxic poisons, radiation, and surgical mutilations, which are currently part of the standard of care for many of these people. Many of these folks have neuropsychiatric problems. They have neurological issues. They have cardiovascular issues. They have hormonal issues, bone density issues. And there are some hospitals now opening up medicine for cancer survivors because you have a new realm of health issues as the result of surviving these horrific treatments.
And the financial benefit for pharmaceuticals in this space, in the oncology space, is much more financially profitable than what would be when you bring natural substances out, into the market. So there aren't
Absolutely.
really, yeah,
because you cannot patent nature, so there is no return on investment. If you tweak nature and get, one synthetic molecule that is not exactly like nature, you can patent it, and then you can expect good return on your investment. But also, you are playing with fire, because a synthetic molecule is not acting like the natural molecule, and that's why you see all this toxicity and side effects that comes sometimes years after a product is put on the market. You realize that it's okay, it's helping with this, but it is destroying another organ.
Yeah, and it is fascinating. I was just at a conference, actually last week, and just listening. We're going through all the new pharmaceutical drugs that have been accepted for different cancers, and just kind of listing the ones that were accepted the last few months. I mean, that in itself took an hour, and the amount of money and the amount of drugs that are coming out to the market that are harmful and toxic and that are destroying our immune system. It's such a plethora of it, while we then have to fight so hard, to get something natural and good research on natural substances like what your father was doing.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, money is the name of the game. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. And one of the things that he studied, that he found, was that there were certain substances. So we know with the traditional oncology, things like chemotherapy, we know how that destroys our bone marrow, destroys our immune system, our ability to produce red blood cells. And so there's all these complications that come along with that. And in his research, he found substances that can really benefit to support the production of white blood cells, red blood cells, which is crucial for our health and our immune system.
Indeed, chemotherapies are killing cancerous cells, but there is a lot of collateral damage, and a lot of those cells that are healthy cells that are destroyed in the process are blood cells, and white blood cells are the core of the immune system. They are, created at the level of the bone marrow, but they need the nutrients that come from the guts. So actually, it's all linked: the gut, the quality of the microbiome, and then the ability to create white blood cells. And chemotherapy is destroying also the lining of the gut, and therefore there is it's very difficult for the bone marrow to get what it needs to create a new generation of blood cells.
Okay, guys, so I just wanted to show you, these are, the first clip there was from Professor Thomas Seyfried interview. The other one was an oncologist talking to a researcher in America from Dr. Talks, and I'll leave links to those in the description. But we're talking about side effects of chemotherapy. Now, of course, obviously, how long these side effects stay with you is going to depend on how severe the chemotherapy treatment was, how much chemotherapy you went through, heavy dose, light dose, what type of chemotherapy, and of course, how long the duration of your treatments. So it doesn't mean it's going to happen to everyone, but even surviving chemotherapy in itself is, quite miraculous sometimes. There are times where you just don't have a choice. For example, I went through 3 years of chemotherapy because basically most of it beforehand just didn't work, or it kind of fed into the disease, like Professor Seifried was saying. And even after a clinical trial, my cancer was still growing. With follicular lymphoma, it's a recurring type of cancer that will always come back. Apparently, but I was stage 4 twice in 2 years. I never stopped treatment until I got to the stem cell transplant, and that was the last resort sort of treatment. But as they were saying before, it destroys your gut biome. It destroys the lining of the stomach. So it also destroys the ability for your body to absorb nutrients and to create bone marrow, red and white blood cells. And this is why the lymphatic system is so important. Like, lymph fluid actually carries your white cells, which is like so important for your immune system. So ever since then, my immune system has been completely shot. And my platelet count has been very low. Platelets, they allow clotting to stop you from bleeding out, if they get too low, for example. But they also, red and white blood, red blood cells, for example, also carry oxygen to muscles and other cells. So another side effect of chemotherapy is that you get tired very easily. You get puffed, you get out of breath very easily. So if you do some exercise, you will be short of breath much sooner than you would have been beforehand. Okay. Now, looking back on the things I used to do when I was younger, yeah, sure, age plays a part, but after chemotherapy, I can't believe that the amount of things I used to do compared to now. But that doesn't mean that I can't do anything. Okay. Now, I also went through a lot of treatment went through directly into my heart. I had a port on my right side. I had a Hickman line with 2 tubes sticking out on the left side. Okay, so I had chemotherapy being pumped directly into my heart. Okay, and it destroys the lining of your stomach. After my transplant, for example, I had all the lining of my esophagus, my stomach, coming up, the lining of my mouth and tongue, and the lining, and when I was also passing the lining of my entire digestive tract as well, right? So this is how badly this stuff can actually affect you, and that was actually being pumped directly into my heart. Okay, so I mean, surviving that was, and if you know my transplant story, I stopped breathing a number of times. I was AFib afterwards. My heart could not control the rhythm for many years afterwards. And I mean, there's just a number of these side effects, but also neurological problems. Cognitive function was very low afterwards, and for many years afterwards. And I'm still struggling with things like that. But it is, a low platelet count is also related to having depression and other forms of like emotional problems, sort of things, because obviously when you have a low immune system, when you are tired, you feel tired all the time, you feel run down, you get those sort of feelings as well, because you're not getting the nutrients to the brain as well. It's not going to help. So this is just I just wanted to give you examples of when you go through these treatments, that doesn't mean that everything goes back to normal. You get your life back and everything is good again. You're a completely different person afterwards. Especially, and like I said before, some people only need mild forms of treatment and very short periods of treatment. But if you go through prolonged periods like I did, like 3 years of chemotherapy, heavy dose chemotherapy, there's going to be a lot of long-term side effects, some of which I won't talk about because they're just, it's just not worth getting into. But there is just a lot of these sort of things that you have to put up with afterwards, and you have to learn to adjust your life as well. But that doesn't mean that you can't heal. I'm not saying you're going to heal completely, but because I'm still working on that. Okay, so I'm in remission this month. In fact, I'm in remission 10 years out of the hospital. That is, to me, a miracle as well. And I owe most of that to a high-fat diet from the time I've finished my treatments. And I'm hoping that it will continue. Hoping that I can, keep my remission period. I've learned a lot in the last 10 years, so I think it's working well so far. But there are things that I'm not sure how long they're going to last. Obviously, like I'm talking about platelet count and my red and white blood cells and being tired a lot. So things that I just have to deal with. However, having said that, since being like a strict carnivore as well, my last few blood tests, my markers have all increased quite well. For example, before, like my platelet count was well below the bottom of the normal healthy range. And if you go back and have a look at my blood test videos, you'll see where my blood markers are. Which is also something I'll be doing again next month. I'll be getting another blood test done, and we'll be checking up on a few things. Liver function and is one thing I've been emphasizing recently, because it's there was a lot of organ damage after chemotherapy, and I'm talking about all of my organs. Okay, now I only have one kidney left, so I have to make sure I look after that as best I can, and of course, everything else. So I just wanted to say, these are the sort of things that you deal with after chemotherapy. But that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Doesn't mean that you can't do anything. If you have a look at some of my exercise videos, you'll see that I still am quite active, and I'm trying to increase that. So I'm going to tomorrow. I just want to also remind people that tomorrow there's a live event. I'll be talking about cancer and diet and lifestyle effects, treatments and other things. We will be talking with Dr. Anthony Chafee and Professor Bart Kay. I'll also have Sammy Togano for our guest as well. So it'll be Sammy, myself, the professor, and Anthony Chafee, Dr. Anthony Chafee. So it will be a great live event. I hope you all join us, because it's going to be a lot of information, great information from two just brilliant minds, and two people who have gone through treatments and have experienced getting themselves into remission and changing their life. Sammy Togano was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. She's now symptom-free and she's living very well. I myself have been in remission 10 years. Even with all these side effects, I have managed to come back from being bedridden for many, many years to doing some very active things that a lot of people, even now, even healthy people, that have struggled to do. So I know if I can do it, then other people can do it too. All right, guys, I really hope you join us tomorrow for the live event. It's going to be a fantastic event, and we'll talk soon. Have a great day.